Good morning from the freedom of the seas for the last time. Ryder's eating his breakfast. It is 7:55. Windjammer's open until 8:30. We actually had time to go down to the dining room because the dining room is open until 8. But we're on the same deck as Windjammer, so we just had to literally walk across. So that was much easier than having to try and take the elevator today, which is chaotic. So they're only at group 10 or 42. Which is usually great because we're usually like running late, but we actually made good time this morning. We packed up most everything last night and packed it and finished off, so we're just going to be chilling. So we're going to eat, well, at least we're not rushing for breakfast, which is great. So we're going to enjoy our last breakfast on the ship, probably film a little bit after that, and then talk about our disembarkation, and at the end of this video will be our recap. So it's 8:20, and we're done with breakfast. We don't know where we're supposed to go, because usually we finish breakfast and they're already calling us. So they're only at like 20, 21, and we're 42. So we got a while to wait. We just don't know where. But yeah, it was great. Service has been great. The food selection was good. Windjammer, really, really happy with the Windjammer on this cruise. Honestly, I thought the Windjammer food was much better on this cruise than it was on the Independence in November. Now, Independence was only a 4-night, but it's the same size ship. But the food was much better to me overall. But yeah, let's get back on when our number's called, so you can see what the timing is for group 42. There's only 50 groups. So we're waiting at the front of the Windjammer so we can use the restroom. And I walked in at 8:31 and they were like, can't come in, we're already closed. It closed at 8:30. So we were able to, I was able to come in, so I'm just sitting here. But they are strict. 8:30, they close the doors. So don't be late for breakfast, you won't be getting any. So we started heading off, we got called at exactly 8:59, started heading off the ship. It is now 8:17, so not too bad. However, one of our luggages was misplaced, so we actually had to walk around. It was a little scary at first, because that's never happened to us, but one of our bags was placed in 40, which you think we were 42 and 40 was closed, but it wasn't. So we had to like literally walk around. The people weren't really helpful, but they were like, well, just have you looked around and looked for it? So we did end up finding it. It took about 5 minutes, so but fortunately someone didn't take it. It was misplaced.
Get out here. It's pretty crazy. This is a little crazy.
So 6 nights parking at Fort Lauderdale, FYI, $120.
$120.
My little garbage in here.
Jesus.
So anyway, but it is 9:26. So we started leaving the ship at 8:59. Again, they did misplace one of our bags. Fortunately, no one took it. We almost mistook somebody else's bag, but I didn't. He almost did. But anyway, so now we're headed home. Following this will be my recap.
Okay, so let me go ahead and do my recap. So it's actually been about 3 weeks since we returned, maybe a little bit longer than that. But kind of just do a quick recap. And regarding the ship is great. It is an older ship. My husband and I went on it back in 2008 when it was one of the newer ones, when it was like the new ship, which is crazy. And now it is considered an old ship, but it is really, now I haven't been on Liberty in a while, and in that sense it's been revamped, but of the Independence and the Freedom, I much prefer Freedom. Mainly just for little things, like the arcade wasn't, you didn't have to walk through the arcade to get to Adventure Ocean. You didn't have to, they had the El Loco Fresh and not the fish and chips place. So just little things like that I much preferred Freedom over Independence. Now, if you're looking for shows, the Independence had Grease, and they had a couple better shows. Now, we didn't watch any shows. The only show we watched was freedom.com or freedomonice.com or something like that. The ice show. We watched the ice show, and that was just Ryder and I. That was the only thing we watched. As far as every other entertainment, we didn't. I went into this trip as kind of not going to do any entertainment. It was going to be really relaxed, just kind of eat dinner, get a drink, and then chill, relax, spend some time together. And then Ryder would go to Ryder went to the kids club, and he stayed every night till late. So it was great. So that was, and I loved it. It was really what I needed. And honestly, it felt more like a vacation. Whereas, you know, when we were on Icon last year, I just felt like we had to do everything, and I was still exhausted when we came back, but I was more, you know, just kind of drained. It didn't feel like a vacation, where this one really, really did feel like a vacation. Now, as far as the Kids Club Adventure Ocean, the Adventure Ocean on Independence was split up by ages. So it was like 6 to 8 and then 9 to 12 maybe. But here it was just all one big one. Ryder really liked the big one. Like, Ryder didn't mind either way. But he liked being with all the kids. Now, he would have moved up, because when he went to the one in Independence, it was 8. I think that's how all the ships are going to the like, they're now going to be 6 to 12, I think. So he likes that way. Maybe when he's 12, he may not, but he really enjoyed it. So he does have in and out privileges now, but we didn't give him access. He's not very mature, and we just didn't feel like he was ready for that. So I think at some point he will be ready, but I just wasn't ready to do that for him. Our stateroom, amazing. It was, I mean, the best stateroom I've ever had, and especially that it was, you know, inexpensive compared to what we've paid. I would choose that stateroom every time. I would choose that stateroom. Unfortunately, there's only 2 of them, and they're both on Freedom, so it's $1,100 and $1,150, but it's the most amazing stateroom. So it's a spacious panoramic ocean view, so obviously no balcony, but the location was great. It was right near the fitness center, and then the spa was one up. So when I was getting my hair done, it was very, very quick to just go to the spa really quick. My husband did go to the fitness center one day. So it was amazing. So so if you are looking to do any cruise on, we got a roll up one time and we were in a grand suite. I would choose that stateroom over the grand suite, because we had 2 TVs, we had all this space, and it was just, so we had this huge walk-in closet. It was amazing. So those are the absolute best staterooms, you know, that, you know, most bang for your buck for sure. Now, I did do the cruise duck mail again, like I did on our previous ship on Independence, and I actually got a couple other people in our Facebook group to do it as well, and I dropped off those ducks, and I showed that in the first video. Unfortunately, we had duck stealers. We had mail theft on Freedom of the Seas. So, and I wasn't the only one. We were hearing it. Kids were taking magnets, and our room was kind of off to the side. So you had to know our stateroom was there, and you had to know we had a mailbox. So I feel like it was somebody, unfortunately, in the group. But our mailbox, and I had clearly stated, like, these are, you know, if you want to leave a duck for my son, we do this, and then we actually get some ducks and then we hide them in there for him. It's just easier that way. He gets ducks, and we're not looking for ducks for hours on end when we, because we will do that. Like if he doesn't find a duck, he will search for 3 hours straight until he finds one. So that's what we did. Unfortunately, we hid one before we went to pick him up at the kids club, and when we came back, it was gone. And this was like at 11 o'clock at night, and I had 2 other people said, oh, we left a duck in your mailbox, and when we went to see it, it was gone. So we had at least 3 taken. We don't know how many other ones were taken. So that was kind of unfortunate. It was very, you know, maybe they thought they were for the taking, but I kind of thought maybe, but then when other people were reporting the same thing happening to theirs, and then magnets were being taken off people's mailbox, it was spring break. It was just unfortunate. So not Royal Caribbean's fault, but just something to, I really didn't even think that was going to be an issue. But it was the first time, like, I was really surprised, because we've done this like on Disney cruises with the, you know, the exchange, the fish extenders and pixie dusting, and never had that happen. So that was a very unfortunate. So just something, if you are going to do the cruise duck mailbox, you know, there can be theft. I did mention this already as far as the spa. We didn't do anything in the spa, but I did do again the blowout, three sets of blowouts. It was $149. I think it came out to like $177 with tax and everything and tip. I did tip on top of that. Fantastic. I love it. I booked it for nights 2, 4, and 6. It was great. It's my favorite thing. I do it now every cruise. The price hasn't gone up, so we already booked our cruise for next year. Going to be doing the same exact itinerary, but on the Oasis. So I'm really excited about that. But if you like to you don't have to worry about washing my hair. I don't have to worry about styling it. It's styled. It looks great, and it lasts. I mean, it would really last more than for 2 days, but because of the pool and stuff. But highly recommend doing it, and it's just fab. To me, that's better than a massage. One thing I did like about this sailing is that it was the first time we've ever done where they've done like the spa raffle in the lounge, which I thought was brilliant. It was fantastic because we had all this space in there and it was great. So we had we weren't like hunting for a seat or sitting on a treadmill or a bike or whatever. So it was really, really great. So I did like having, they did the spa raffle. We didn't win anything, but I did like that they had it in the lounge. So I thought that was a really good first thing that they did. And then this also, one of the members of our cruise group did a duck exchange, which I thought was brilliant. So I might do that and coordinate that with the next cruise because it was so much fun and Ryder had a blast and there really wasn't much fun, much to organizing it. You just kind of had to find a space where you could meet and everybody. We did the card room, which worked out really well and maybe took like 20 minutes, but people brought their ducks and they spread them out and they traded and I thought it was great. So it was kind of like just organizing a space and a time, and then everybody kind of did their own thing. So I thought it was great. So highly recommend it. So thought that was a really great idea and something I might start on my future cruise. So dining was okay. Main dining was okay. I didn't feel like some of the menus that we've had and some of the meals that I've had before, like the last night, the Bon Voyage, I've had the steak before. I didn't think it was that good. On the Oasis, it was amazing. On this one, it was not. Nothing was bad, but there wasn't anything that was like stellar. There was also no, lobster night, which is kind of disappointing, but I kind of figured that there's only one formal night. So 6 nights, there was only one formal night. The My Time dining though, I think this was our last time doing My Time dining. My Time dining, it used to be fantastic. It is now awful. It has gotten to the point where it's just kind of like annoying, whatever. And this last time was it was plain awful. To have to wait, 45 minutes when you made your reservation with the line and then you just go to the line that has no reservation, then you get a seat. Ridiculous. So for Oasis that we booked, again, same sailing, different ship, we booked, they have the new middle, I think it's like 6:45 time slot. We're gonna do that one because the My Time dining used to be a great concept, but unfortunately it isn't anymore. And it's been like this ever since things kind of got started on the Odyssey, but that was when right after that was the first time it was going up to 100%. They really weren't staffed properly, but we've been experiencing it on every ship since the restart, and it's just gotten progressively worse. So I think I'm done with My Time dining because it's just I don't want to have to sit and wait, and that's not the whole purpose of My Time dining. So My Time dining, I used to recommend it, but I don't anymore. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the 3 ports. So first of all, we left out of Fort Lauderdale, which was amazing. If you have a choice between Fort Lauderdale and Port of Miami, Fort Lauderdale is so much easier to get in and out of. So is the airport. We're local, so it doesn't really matter to us, but to get in and out of Port Everglades is so much easier. So like parking's right there. You can walk to the ship. It's just really, really easy. Now, a lot is going to depend on which ship, but if you're like between two sailings and one leaves at Port Miami and one leaves at Port Everglades, go for Port Everglades. But going for Nassau, we never get off, and this time we did. We went to, like I said, we went to Blue Lagoon Island and we did the sea lion encounter. That quite possibly is my favorite excursion I've ever done. We did a sea lion encounter in St. Thomas at I forgot the coral. I don't know, the little the little aquarium there. I forgot what it's called, Coral World. We did that years ago, and it was cool. But this one was so much better, so well organized, just the interaction. And that one was kind of private. I think it was like only like 4 or 5 of us. And this one was like a huge group, but I just loved it. My son had a great time. It was great. The aqua park was great. And, you know, even though we couldn't find seats and we got the clamshell, totally worth it. So just really enjoyed it. The downside was that there was an early check-in. It was a lot of like hurry up and wait. And, you know, we had to be at the theater at 7:10. We didn't get to Blue Lagoon Island until like 9:15. So it was like 2 hours. Now it was a 45-minute ferry, but there was a lot of standing outside the ship, waiting for everybody to come. So that's the only downside, but for me it was fine. It was totally worth it because it was such a great experience. So I think we're looking at doing, they haven't released them for next March, but I think we're gonna do one of the dolphin excursions at Blue Lagoon because we really enjoyed it. My son loved the aqua park and we just had a great time. So I would just say if you do it, they told us 12:30 for the ferry. People started lining up at 12:05 and they started boarding the ferries at 12:05. I wish we had done that just to get on a ferry quicker because we really were kind of done. We were kind of like tired and we were anxious to get back, and we didn't eat there. Ryder did, but we didn't. So we were really hungry. So I would just like, if you're anxious to leave, you know, try and, you know, they line up quick, sooner rather than later because they just kind of board them up as quickly because there's a lot of people from your ship because there's all these different excursions. So they're all kind of leaving at the same time. Okay, the next port was Falmouth, which is essentially Ocho Rios, but it's like an hour and a half away from Ocho Rios, or an hour away. And it's the port that Royal Caribbean goes to. Disney also goes to Falmouth. We did the Dune Buggy, which was something we had done I think 14 years ago with just my husband and I. It was a very different experience. We had a great time, but we did a lot more before, and I realized when we did it 14 years ago, we actually ported in Ocho Rios, so we didn't have, it's an hour and a half drive. So the travel is 3 hours total, plus the Dune Buggy, it says it's a half an hour. It was not. It was maybe 15 minutes. Now it was fun, and honestly, I was like covered head to toe in mud, so I was done. It was fine. Ray was kind of disappointed, but it was short. It was 15 minutes. It says it's advertised as a half an hour. It is not. Had a great time, but I would not recommend it. I would not recommend it for one thing, just because it's so far. It's so far, and it's 3 hours for a 20-minute maybe excursion, and it's just not worth it. So I'm looking now, again, we're going back to Falmouth. So the one I'm looking at is Adventure Falls, or the Martha Bray, like river tubing and zip line, which looks to be about 45 minutes from the port. So it's closer, and it's kind of built from Falmouth. So most of these excursions that are like an hour and a half away are because they're close to the Ocho Rios port, and they're still kind of not, they're building like new excursions closer to the Falmouth port. So Falmouth port is beautiful now, really great, but I would just recommend doing something closer to the port because it said it was an hour and 15 minutes. No, it was an hour and a half. And it was just not worth it. So, but with that, I will say, make sure you stop at the Falmouth chocolate company or chocolate factory. Really great. Nick was amazing. He really educated us on all things, but even Ryder was like really interested in it, which was really cool. And really, really interesting to learn about his family and how he found out about this like cocoa field that he had. And it just opened. I didn't even realize it just opened around Thanksgiving, where he just opened it. So it's just worth it. The chocolate was amazing, like amazing. If you like dark chocolate, and Ray doesn't like dark chocolate and he liked the chocolate, so definitely stop there. Even if you just go and get some chocolate, like one thing, highly recommend it. It's fabulous. So if you don't stop at anywhere else, if you just get off the ship for a few minutes, definitely stop at the Falmouth Chocolate Factory. And then finally, Labadee. Labadee, we did almost exactly what we did in November. We did the zip line, and then we did the roller coaster, or the coaster, and then we just went to the beach, which was great. We actually spent more time at the beach than we did in November. The weather was great. Weather was, perfect. The zip line was fantastic. Next time we are going to do the fire, the one where you lay. So I've already purchased it. There was a sale. I've already purchased it. So Ryder still doesn't want to do it, but I think it's because he doesn't want to wear a helmet. But he wants to do the other one, but we're like, no, you're going to do the fire. We've already done it twice. So we've booked the one for the fire, which is the Superman one. So very excited about that. But yeah, I think that's a great, and then, you know, I would say like Columbus Cove, they did have the ferry going over to Columbus Cove. Columbus Cove is where we had the bungalow one time, and they also have the water park there. So, you know, I just think if you're going to, if you're doing Labadee, Labadee is really big. So, you know, we're either going to do the water park and the stuff that's on that side, or we're going to stay in the area where the zip line and the coaster is. So we really like that. We, you know, hopefully we're going to be able to do some other excursions next year, but we'll see a look into that. But we're definitely doing the fire zip line. Okay, so my biggest disappointment with this ship was the lack of photographers. So they had photographers on the ship, but their focus was solely on the evening photos and primarily like the backdrops. Like obviously they had the promenade, but the Freedom is you know, an older ship, so you don't have like Central Park and different areas like you do on the Oasis class or the Icon class. So you pretty much have the promenade, which is where they are, or the backdrops. And then obviously the ones that they come around dinner, which never come out good. Like they just never come out good. So that's all they did. I never saw them on the pool deck. I never saw them taking pictures at any of the slides or at the flow rider, anything like that. I purchased a package of 50. We had a total of 54 photos, and 54 photos with a lot of photos that were bad. So I ended up picking 50. I just picked, like, I eliminated the 4 worst and then just got everything just so that I paid for it. But I mean, I've done, you know, like when we were on Icon, obviously Icon is a bigger ship, but I just was shocked. And then they didn't have any photographers. I did not see one photographer on Labadee. Not one. Not roaming the beach, not roaming, you know, we saw them roaming the beach on the Independence. They were at the zip line. There was one at the zip line the entire time. They rotated, but there was a photographer stationed at the zip line the entire time. They didn't have it. They didn't have it at all. They just said, no, we don't. I even asked later on, I said, you know, why wasn't there a photographer there? And they said, oh, we don't put a photographer there. So on the Freedom, if you're purchasing it for the zip line, and I really wanted it because on the Independence, I have my legs wide open because that was the position and I didn't realize they were taking pictures. And this time in the zip line, my legs were crossed because that was what the position was, because there wasn't any wind and I have no pictures. So very disappointed. I had pre-purchased it, so it wasn't like, you know, I'd either have to cancel, like even if I went down to like the package of 20, it was more expensive on the ship than what I paid for the package of 50. So I just took it. But just know, if you're going on the Freedom of the Seas, the photographers are just like, unless you want like 7 or 6 nights or whatever of formal, you know, prom pictures, get the smaller package because it's really just kind of a waste. Very, very disappointing. And I did write to Royal Caribbean about it because I just thought, it's not consistent with what they do on other ships. And I also think it's just a lost revenue stream. I think what people like, you know, I would love pictures of in the flow rider, you know, just at the pool. We got some great pictures of Ryder and us at Splash Away Bay on Oasis and at the pool and the slide, etc. So, and then especially on Labadee, we've had, you know, sometimes I have to chase them, but they're out there and they're taking pictures. So, you know, those are the pictures that a lot of people want because you're not going to get those pictures on your own. So, you know, hopefully they'll reconsider, but just know if you are, you know, going on the Freedom of the Seas, the photo package might not be worth it. Next up was ice skating, the activities on the ship. So the ice skating, first up, you reserved, it was only on sea days, so it was only 2 days offered, and it was reserved in 10-minute increments, but it was a half-an-hour session, which I thought was really, really well organized because you didn't have everybody like coming on and off the ice at the same time. We brought our own skates. We did, you know, get the helmet. You do have to wear a helmet, but we had our own skates, so we didn't have to get skates. And it was actually kind of warm in there because I tend to be cold on the ice rink, but it was actually, I had like an undershirt and I really didn't need it. So, but just know, like, make sure like the sea days, as soon as the app is open, you can make the reservations, and also know that the ice gets really choppy towards the end of the session, which was when we went, and it gets a little hard to skate. So if you want more clean ice, then try and go in the beginning of the session. So, but I thought it was really organized, really fun. It was fun to ice skate on the ship, and we had a good time. The other activity on the ship was laser tag. It's called like Quest for Crystal City or something like that. I'll post it here, but super fun. A lot of fun. It was a little disorganized because we were there and we were sitting there, and then we were with the group waiting, and they had overbooked it. So they only had one spot. So then they're like, so Ray just goes, well, can he go by himself? And they're like, yeah, sure. That way he got to do it twice. So we sat and we waited, and then nobody else came. So there was no other session, and we're sitting there waiting, and they're like, oh, well, there's nobody else. So what they ended up doing is the people that had just left that my son had played with, they actually asked anybody, does anybody want to play again? Because we were the last session and they overbooked it, or something happened, but then they didn't have enough spots, so they didn't have enough guns. So fortunately they did work around it, but it was kind of like, okay, well, you're the only 3 people. We can't play with just 3 people. So that was a little disorganized, but it worked out, and Ryder got to play twice. It was a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed it. So the laser tag is always fun. So if it's on your ship, it's on the ship, definitely book it, and just make sure it's on the app. So you never really know when it's going to be offered. We did it. It was offered on 2 different days. I just know that we did it on the day that we went to Labadee, which I believe was day 5. I think it was on day 3 as well. It wasn't a sea day, but I think it was on day 3 as well. Not 100% sure. So it's not on the sea day, because the sea day is the day that they have open skating. So just know that it will be on a day that you are in port. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun. And then as far as the pool and stuff, we bought those, I bought those refillable water balloons that Ryder loved, and it was so much fun. He was able to bring some, and then he's like, ask kids, because he really kind of doesn't really have anybody to play with, because he's an only kid and he doesn't really go with know anybody. And it was like instant friendships. So kids were playing, and he was like playing, and then so the first day I did get them all back. So I was like watching kids. A couple kids tried to swipe them. Most of the kids were there with their parents, and their parents were like, make sure you give it back. So that was good. And I only had brought 8 because I really wasn't sure if he was going to like them. Next time I'm going to buy a package. I'm watching it on Amazon when they go on sale. I'm going to buy a big package, and I'm going to just bring a lot. Just so that if they get lost or kids swipe them or whatever, it's fine. What I did on the last sea day, is when we had them, we brought them all to the pool, and we just kept the one that my son was playing with. And then we're like, no, go ahead and keep them. So all the kids, and like some of the parents, like one kid was like, no, my mom said I had to give it back to you. And I'm like, no, but you can have it. And, it was just because his mom had told him, like, make sure you give it back. But I let the kids have it. That way the kids got to play, because we were leaving, Ryder was tired, and I didn't want to end their fun. The slides were slow. They were fun, but they weren't very fast. We went up them a couple times. They were kind of my speed. So if they're my speed, that's not very fast. But they were fine, but they weren't very fast. So kind of a couple times. Line wasn't long, but probably because they really weren't that great of slides. Flow Rider was a lot of fun. Line got long, but we went the second sea day, and Ryder did really good. So Ryder did really good this time. So I think every time we're going to go, at least try it once so he can try it and get better. I hadn't done it since before Ryder was born. So it had been probably 12 or 13 years since I had done the Flow Rider. And the last time I did, I got stuck. And so it was a lot of fun. I was glad I did it. And I didn't fall. I kind of just like swerved over to the end, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm happy. I did it. So it was fun. But yeah, it was, but the pool was great. We didn't really go to the main pool at all, just because we stayed around in the Splashaway Bay. And I love the Splashaway Bay on Freedom. It's a really great Splashaway Bay, especially for the size of the ship. So that's kind of where we hung out, and it was fun. Disembarkation was pretty seamless. We did have to wait this time for our number to be called, which was something that's unusual. We usually are like still eating breakfast when our number is called, but we did have to wait a little bit, but it was called. Now our luggage was put in the wrong area, which had me very nervous. That's never happened before. So our luggage, we got there and our luggage was not there. So we did have to go and search for it. And it was just, we were, I think 42, and I placed it in 40. So that was a little nerve-wracking, but it was about 5 minutes before he found it, but it was found. And that's not Royal Caribbean's fault. That is Port Everglades. So just kind of look at the other ones. I didn't think someone had swiped it because it was like Mickey Mouse luggage. So it's not like it's a black suitcase, but fortunately we did, it was found. But that was it. And it was a great cruise. Really great, really enjoyed it. I really liked being a little bit more relaxed on this. And while I liked the Icon, this sailing was almost just a little over half the price of what we paid on Icon. And I cannot tell you that I had less of a time. I had just as good of a time, probably even a little bit better, just because we got to relax and I didn't have that pressure of trying to do everything. Now that is obviously put on me, but you know, sometimes the older ships, you know, especially if you have a kid, like you don't want to, I think Freedom class and above, but it's, you know, it's still considered an older ship. It's still great. It was still great. And you know, we're not there for the shows, so we were fine and we just had a really great time. So highly recommend it. And again, I like the itinerary. So we're doing the same itinerary. Yes, I miss Coco Cay, but I love Labadee. And you know, I didn't really miss Coco Cay because we have Labadee. So it was great. So really liked the itinerary. So we actually booked the exact same itinerary next year on the Oasis. So with that, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.